Welcome to this VRTY learning video. My name is Kingston. I'm one of the co-founders of VRTY. In this particular video, I'll cover our VRTY platform technology approach. Let's get started. So the VRTY platform we've designed to help anybody create, build, and share their own immersive projects. What makes the VRTY platform so great is really these 5 points that we've got. Our platform is cloud-based. So basically, there's no need to download any applications or download an app onto your phone. You do pretty much everything online. We do use 360-degree video and photos as scenes within our projects. And we like this because it's fairly cost-effective. It's also easy to do. There's no code that you need to learn or additional software that you need to learn. And producing your own 360 content is actually fairly easy. Scenes can then be linked together using teleport markers. And we also use interactive markers to reveal and discover more content for your audiences. Our VRTY projects can then be viewed in VR mode or 360 mode, really making it nice and versatile so that audiences can choose if they'd like to stick a headset on their head and view it fully immersed, or whether or not they just like to look at it in 360 mode. So if we start to unpack each of these a little bit more, here's an image of the login screen for VRTY. Essentially, if you want to start creating on the VRTY platform, we'll give you a password and a login. From there, if you wanted to actually use your OnePass or a single sign-on through Google or through Microsoft, you can actually use that. So you'll log on online. From there, if you've got content, you can just upload it straight into the cloud. The platform will then have that content there for you. You can then go ahead and start to create and build using the VRTY platform. Once you've then finished, all you have to do is publish your project, and then the platform will give you a URL, which you can then share with your viewers so they can click on it and they can start streaming. As I mentioned before, we use 360 digital imagery as the core components of what we do. So just to talk about that a little bit more, if you've never really seen how a 360 image or a video gets put together, in this particular photo, you'll see, or this slide, you'll see that in the center is a fairly advanced Pro 360 camera. You can get all different sorts. You can get ones with 2 fisheye lenses, which are more of the consumer type cameras, all the way up to professional type cameras. But really what happens is, if you look on the right, what it tries to do in a 360 is actually capture all the content that's around it using its lenses and add that to what they call a sphere. On the left-hand side, you can see that that camera sits, really, say if you're in a room, it looks like you're actually in a room, and through the way that the pixels are put together and through color, and also the way that the technology puts it together, it looks like there's depth, it looks like there's corners, but really what you're looking at is an actual image that is wrapped around a sphere. Now, what we call that is a 360 Equirectangular image. So this is an image of Captain Cook's cabin on the HMS Endeavour, and you can see here that it's actually looks like a panorama image, but in actual fact it's not. And so if we break it down, you can actually see that this form follows this structure. So the very top and the very bottom is what you would see from a ceiling or on a floor perspective, but in front of you, that's what you would look at if you were standing in the cabin. As you start to look left and right of that, that would be the side shots, and then at the very extremities of that actual image, that's actually behind you. So if we start to overlay that together, you can actually see then that if you're standing in the cabin, what you're looking at right in front of you is the desk, but then to the extremities are then the images right behind you. Now, if you were to take this image and wrap it around a tennis ball, then you would get a perfect sphere, and that's what you would be seeing. So from a technical perspective, it just helps you understand a little bit about what we talk about from a 360 perspective. Obviously, if you've ever used Google Street View, you'll know that you can actually jump around and you can see streets, and you can see different locations, and you can use your mouse or your finger to scroll around. Now for 360, which is a little bit different to some of the other virtual reality technologies out there, which you might see through Oculus Rift or HTC Vive, or if you have a PlayStation VR. In 360, there are three things that you can do. You can look up and you can look down. You can look left and right, and you can even tilt your head left and right. With this particular format, you cannot move forward or backwards. So if you've got the headset on, there's no walking. And even if you do walk, it doesn't actually sense that you are walking. You can't then shift left and right and move left and right. You cannot squat down or jump up high. And unfortunately, you cannot pick up objects. So I guess, for 360, there are certainly nice little benefits to it in terms of it's capturing the real world around you versus some of the other technologies where you're having to recreate the whole thing in using design software. And it's an entire world that needs to be created from scratch in a computer-generated environment. That way you can actually move around. You need sensors to do that, or you can pick up objects. So I guess from a sliding scale, there's lots of pros and cons to both. Now for us, what we love about it is it's nice and fast, it's versatile, you don't really need to know code to move forward, and then it's more about the idea of what you want to come up with. And so once you have your 360-degree scenes, the next part is how do you actually get between one scene and the next? And so here you see that we've got two scenes, and there's an arrow there pointing out a little teleport marker. So those little arrow grids will be flashing on the screen once you're in an actual project, and once you click on that, it then teleports you to the next scene. Now, we really like this, and if you've ever played games, it's very similar to that sort of function of hitting a little teleport marker, and then you get transported someplace else. Helps you from a navigation and design perspective to get audiences from one place to the next. Now, it doesn't have to be a completely different scene. You could actually teleport someone across the other side of the room if you like. So with all of that, what we have within the VRTY platform is this storyboarding section. So from that perspective, you can actually start to think about what your experience is going to be like. In this particular experience, you can see that I've got a very linear type experience. So we start off in space, we have a bit of a landing on Mars, we look at the surface of Mars, and then finally you can teleport to Mars at night. Now there's 4 scenes there. What I've done is actually allowed the audiences to choose when they want to jump from one scene to the next. So you actually add some of that control back to the actual audience. So it's not like watching a video from start to end or a movie where they passively just wait and watch. They actually have some control, and that's what we want. We want them to click around on different things. We want them to choose their own adventure, essentially. Now from here, if you wanted it to be a little bit more complicated, you can actually add it from being a linear to a non-linear. So actually from the first scene, you can actually get to scenes 2 and 3 and 4, and really you can choose from there how you want to get around. One of the other things I mentioned is interactive marker content. So here is an example again. You can see on a particular scene, rather than have a teleport marker there, what I've got is interactive content markers. So on the left-hand side, there are two little markers right next to the rock. And one of them, if you click on it, will actually reveal a little content dialog box on the right-hand side. This particular rock is called Yogi on the planet of Mars. Now that particular content box there we've created, you can put text in, as you can see. You can also add an image. You can also put a video in there if you want. And we also have the capability for voiceover, so you can have sound. You can either have them all exclusive or you can actually have them all together at once. So you see underneath that, there's also a number of different navigational markers that you can use. So would you like to click for more information? Would you like to click on this marker to reveal a photo? Would you like to click on this to reveal a tip? These are just some suggestions. And as you go through that creative process, you can actually come up with your own markers as well. And once you start getting into it, the markers actually can be a little bit more creative. And so you can actually have a photo as a marker, which then clicks to reveal another photo. To show you some of that flexibility, markers can be icons, they can be photos, they can be a GIF, they can also be a video. And then once you click on that, it can also reveal text, photos, a GIF, a video, a link to a YouTube video. It could be a sound file, it could be a voice file, or it could be a combination of any of those. Once you've go through and you've built that, you're ready to share and publish your project. So to publish is actually really easy. You essentially go to that particular stage in the platform, you click on publish, and what it will do is generate a URL, a web link that is unique to your project. Right? You can publish as many times as you like. You can actually go back and you can make changes and then republish again. But what you can do is just click on that link, or send that to someone who you want to view. They click on that link, they open it up on their device using a Google Chrome or a Safari internet browser, and then they're off and they're running and they're viewing the project. The other thing you can also do is output your project as a QR code, and people are pretty au fait with using QR codes these days, so you can actually put those up so that people can then scan them with their phone, and then all of a sudden they're off and running and viewing again. So just recap how they can experience. Again, they can use it on their desktop, so they can explore in 360 just using their mouse to then click and grab the screen. They can use their mouse to click any of the markers and interact with it. You can also view on a mobile device, so your smartphone or on a tablet. And then in this particular instance, you're using your finger to swipe. And if you want to interact with a marker, you can just tap on any of the actual markers. The third one is you can use a mobile headset. So open up your link using a mobile device, stick that in a mobile enabled headset, a VR headset. You can put that on your head. Now we've created a little ingenious way of interacting with the markers. There's a little dot at the center of the screen. If you position that dot across or over a marker and you hold that gaze, essentially it will trigger that particular marker. If you want to look around, essentially just turn your head and you can look up, you can look down, you can look all around. So certainly if you're in that space, make sure to look around, because that's why it's so much fun, because you actually get that full 360 immersive experience. So that comes to the end of this particular learning video. If you need further resources, jump onto our website, which is VRTY.io. There's also a Learning Hub website, which is learn.vrty.io. And if you have any specific questions or if you need something else, then send us a note to help@VRTY.io or support@VRTY.io. Thanks very much, and look out for some of the other videos in this series.